So what happens when the manufacturer of your nice new radio makes an upgrade to fix a problem or add a new feature? In this video, we'll show you how to upgrade the firmware on your Detrum DT9 RC transmitter. When computers first came out, we all understood there were two basic categories of components that made them work. One was hardware and the other was software. Over the years, chip design and programming expanded to include a third category. That category is firmware. Firmware is permanent memory programmed into read-only memory. What that means is that the program continues to exist in the machine when the power is turned off. A fairly recent improvement to many electronic devices is user upgradable firmware. Now, there's no need to send your device back to the manufacturer or service center to have the firmware updated. The Detrum Blitz DT9 transmitter includes user upgradable firmware, and we're going to go through the upgrade process together. Before we jump off into that, if you find this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the RCPlaneviews.com channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Here's what you'll need to complete the process. First, you'll need your DT9. Next, you'll need a clean micro SD card. The files we'll be dealing with are small, so a low-capacity card will be fine. You'll also need a PC with internet connection and a way to connect the SD card to your PC. Here's a quick overview of what we'll be doing. First, we're going to get the upgrade file from Dynam. Next, we'll unzip it and place it on the PC. We'll then download all our models from the DT9 and place them on the PC too. We'll then put the unzipped .dup file on the SD card and import it into the DT9. Last, we'll import the models back into the radio and we'll be good to go. So let's get started. So the first step we're going to do is go to the dynam-rc.cn website and log in. I've already logged in. The user account is free, and I don't get emails from these guys, so I think it's pretty safe to do that. If you don't like sharing your email, set up an alternate email from your ISP and use that. In this case, we're going to go to Download. Then we're going to go to Transmitters. And then down here you see the online firmware version 1.08 upgrade for the Blitz DT9. That's what we want, and so we're going to download that. You can see down here in the corner the download occurred. And so we're done here on this particular website. Now I moved that from my download file to this DT9 firmware folder that I placed on my desktop so it would be easy to find. And so here we find that we've got the DT9 firmware upgrade.zip, so I need to unzip it. I used WinZip and unzipped it to this location, and the only file in it is this dtdata.dup file. You can see it's got a date of 9/24/20. That's for the 1.08. If you are looking at this later for a 1.09 or a 1.10, obviously it'll have a different date. So now I've got it here on my computer. My next step is going to be to download my models from the radio. So here's how we're going to go about exporting the models with the DT9. I've got a micro SD card mounted on the side over there. The label went up to fit into the little slot. We'll turn the radio on, press the scroll wheel, move to Model Set, scroll near the bottom to import export. Click the scroll wheel again. Export all the models. Now the name here you see is the first model I have set. And so if I want to change this, I can do that here. And so I can press this and then I can change it, and I'm going to scroll over to numbers. So I've got this labeled as 10-2020 for October 2020, which is when I'm recording this. And then with that new name, I'm going to press the back button. It's going to go into this Export All Models.
Import and export.
It tells me I'm successful, and then it moved me back to my menu choice. And so now I'm going to move those models to my PC. So let's go over to the PC and take care of that. Okay, so here is the File Explorer window with the model exported file, the DMD file that I labeled 10-2020. And so at this point I'm going to take that file and put it into the folder on my desktop with the firmware upgrade. At that point I'm going to delete it from the SD card, because the instructions say that the only thing the SD card should have is the upgrade file. So I'm going to move that over there. And so now I'm ready to place that into the computer and do the upgrade to the firmware. So I've got the SD card mounted in the side of the DT9, and so to do the upgrade I'm going to press the scroll button down and turn the radio on. It goes into upgrade mode, and so it erases the old firmware and it upgrades the new firmware. It goes to reboot. And then it'll move me to my calibration mode. So I'm going to move completely up and down, completely left and right, and then set neutral. Same here, left and right, up and down, set neutral. Make sure I've got those at a neutral setting. I'm going to do the same thing with the knobs here. That set to neutral. And if I'm happy, which I am, I'm going to hit enter, which is pressing the scroll wheel. Everything shows neutral. I'm okay with that. And then I'm going to press back to exit. Now you'll notice that when I turn the radio back on, I got that throttle not set warning. And that's because this setting here in the model set menu, choice number 3, stick mode, was set to model 1. That's the way it's going to come out of the firmware update. So don't get too wrapped up around that. Just go into your model set menu, roll down to stick mode choice number 3, and then change it to mode 2, because basically the firmware was detecting that this stick over here was the throttle and it wasn't in the low position. So we just needed to tell it which mode it was in, and that's the model set memory item that tells the radio which mode it's in. So let's go back in here and go into the system setting. Go down to the last one, about. And you can see here now that in my software, I've got version 1.0.8, September 18th, 2020. And so that's the current file, and that's all there is to getting the firmware updated. Now I need to put my models back in. So now I've got the SD card plugged back into my computer. Here you can see the DT data file that I had before. At this point, since I have it over here on my file folder on my desktop, I'm simply going to delete it. And then I'm going to take my model file, that 10/20/20 file, put it on the SD card. And now I'm going to put that back into the computer and do the import all models command. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so I've got the model database back on the SD card in the radio. So let me turn this on.
Transmitter set. Model set. Import and export. Import all modules.
And so with the SD card in there, in the slot, all the way, I can see that I've got the file that I want, that 1020 DMD file. And so now I'll press the scroll wheel to load it. That's the one I want. It says import success. So now I'm going to go back.
Transmitter set.
I'm in model set.
Model set.
Scroll up.
Model select.
And there are my models. I've only got a couple of them, but I've got the Meteor set, the Primo set, and so we're looking in the P47 set. So we've got the models back in, so we should be good. As you can see, this was a pretty easy process, but it's important to follow the steps. The error notice about the throttle not being set threw me for a minute until it dawned on me that with the new firmware, I needed to tell the radio what mode it was in. That was the only puzzle for this upgrade. Otherwise, it was very, very smooth. Most firmware upgrades simply fix original programming bugs or make some slight improvement to some function or another. If you're happy with the way your radio is performing, it's not normally a big deal if you upgrade or not. Take a look at the release notes to see what the upgrade fixes and decide if it matters to you or not. Another thing to keep in mind is that the latest firmware edition will normally include all the previous changes. There's normally no need to upgrade each version separately, one after the other. On the other hand, if it sounds like the change is pretty important or it adds a neat new feature, you've seen that the upgrade process is quick and easy. Again, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Thanks for watching.